Wait. Don't scroll. Have you ever felt that people see you, but never truly see your heart? Maybe you smile, but hide what you truly feel. Maybe no one knows the real you. But today, someone saw the part of you that you have kept hidden for so long. Something changed inside their heart. They tried to ignore it. But they couldn't. Something happened today. Quietly. Without noise. Without warning. A small piece of news reached someone who had been carrying your name deep inside their heart. It was not a long message. It was not a dramatic moment. Yet the silence that followed felt louder than any words. They stopped what they were doing. They looked away from the world for a moment. And something inside them refused to stay the same. But what did they hear? And why did it touch a place they had tried so hard to hide? That answer is still waiting. For now, only one thing is certain. Their heart could no longer pretend nothing had changed. Not long after, another moment unfolded. It was simple. Almost ordinary. They came across a side of you that had never been clear before. Not the smile you show everyone. Not the brave face you wear when life feels heavy. They saw something deeper. Something real. Something no one can fake for long. And the strange part was not what they saw. The strange part was how they reacted. They did not look away. They could not ignore what rose inside them. You may not understand why just yet, but another piece is still hidden. Have you ever wondered if someone could recognize the real you without you saying a single word? Maybe you have spent too much time believing people only notice your mistakes. Maybe you think they only remember the times you stayed quiet, walked away, or kept your feelings locked inside. But what if someone noticed something completely different? What if they saw your kindness hiding behind your silence? What if they saw strength inside the places where you thought you looked weak? You have asked yourself many questions. Yet one question has quietly followed you more than all the others. If someone truly knew me, would they still stay? That question carries more weight than you realize. And today, someone else began asking that same question from the other side of this unseen connection. Do not rush ahead. The next moment changes the feeling in a way you may not expect. They remembered a small detail. One that most people would have forgotten. A conversation. A gentle smile. A quiet goodbye. At the time, it seemed too ordinary to matter. But today, that memory returned with surprising clarity. Suddenly, little moments connected like stars in a night sky. They realized your silence had never been empty. They realized your patience had never been weakness. They realized your kindness had never asked for applause. That realization stayed with them longer than they expected. Yet something else happened before they could fully understand it. A quiet doubt entered their heart. What if they had misunderstood you all this time? What if the image they carried was only part of the story? Questions began replacing old assumptions. And sometimes, questions open doors that certainty never could. Perhaps you have noticed this in your own life. Sometimes the people who matter most only begin to see clearly after everything becomes quiet. Not during loud conversations. Not during perfect moments. But afterward. When memories speak louder than voices. There is a reason this matters, though the biggest reason has not appeared yet. As evening settled, they found themselves thinking about you again. Not because anyone forced them. Not because they planned to. Your presence simply returned to their thoughts without asking permission. That surprised them. Feelings they believed had faded suddenly felt alive again. Not stronger because of fantasy. Stronger because of truth. The version of you they saw today did not ask for attention. It simply existed. And somehow, that honesty reached deeper than anything else ever had. You may wonder why this matters so much. Because people can ignore words. They can ignore messages. They can even ignore time. But it becomes much harder to ignore what the heart quietly recognizes. That is where this story begins to shift. Not with loud promises. Not with impossible dreams. But with one honest moment that refuses to disappear. Before this part ends, there is one more question for you. Have you been trying so hard to become someone worthy of love, that you forgot the quiet beauty of simply being yourself? Someone may have discovered that answer before you did. And that discovery is leading them toward a decision they never expected to face. What that decision is, remains hidden for now. Because another layer of this story has not yet been revealed, the story continues from where we left it. That quiet moment did not fade. Instead, it followed this person through the rest of the day like a soft echo that would not leave. Every task felt different. Every conversation seemed distant. Their mind appeared busy, but their heart kept returning to the same place. Why? Because once someone sees the real spirit behind a person, it becomes almost impossible to return to old assumptions. Yet they still wondered if what they felt could be trusted, and that question remained unanswered. Another unexpected moment was already waiting. Later, they heard someone else mention your name again. It was only a passing comment. Nothing dramatic. Most people would have forgotten it within seconds. But for them, those few words carried unusual weight. It was as if every small sign was pointing in the same direction. Still, they resisted. Part of them wanted to believe it meant nothing. Another part quietly hoped it meant everything. Which part would win? That answer was still hidden behind one more layer. Perhaps you know this feeling. You try to move on. You tell yourself not to think about someone. Yet every ordinary moment somehow reminds you of them. A familiar song. A quiet street. A simple laugh. None of these things should matter. Yet somehow, they do. Their heart was beginning to experience that same quiet pull. Not because anyone told them what to feel. But because truth has a gentle way of returning, even after people try to silence it. Please stay with this story. The next moment did not bring certainty. It brought something even more powerful. Reflection. They began asking themselves questions they had avoided for a long time. What if I never truly understood them? What if I noticed their words, but missed their heart? What if they were carrying more than I ever realized? Those questions did not bring easy answers. Instead, they softened something inside. Sometimes healing begins not when answers appear, but when pride quietly steps aside. You may be standing in a season where you also wonder whether anyone truly sees your heart. Maybe you smile while carrying silent battles. Maybe you encourage others while feeling unseen yourself. Maybe you believe your deepest qualities have gone unnoticed. If that thought has lived inside you, do not lose hope yet. Because unseen things are not always unnoticed. Some hearts simply take longer to understand what has been before them all along. That truth was slowly unfolding. But another surprise interrupted their thoughts. Late that evening, they found themselves looking back at old memories. Not searching for mistakes. Searching for meaning. A small conversation suddenly felt different. A quiet glance carried new weight. Even moments that once seemed ordinary now felt filled with hidden emotion. How could something so simple become so important? They did not know. Neither do you. At least not yet. One more piece still remains. As the night grew quieter, something changed inside them. The need to protect themselves slowly became smaller. The desire to understand became stronger. That change was invisible to everyone else. No one applauded it. No one even noticed. Yet quiet changes often become the beginning of life's biggest journeys. You may not realize it now. But some of the most important moments never arrive with loud announcements. They arrive softly, almost unnoticed. Then they quietly change everything that follows. This story is moving toward one of those moments. But before it reaches it, another question appears. If someone finally understood the parts of you that you never explained, would they see weakness? Or would they discover the quiet strength that has always been there? Someone is beginning to find that answer. Not all at once. One gentle step at a time. And with every step, the distance inside their heart grows a little smaller. Yet the most meaningful realization has not appeared. Not because it is being hidden from you, but because even they have not fully recognized it yet. The next chapter begins where silence and hope finally meet. And when that moment arrives, the story continues exactly where we left it. Morning arrived quietly. Nothing around this person looked different. The sky was the same. The streets were the same. People continued with their ordinary lives. But inside their heart, nothing felt ordinary anymore. They carried yesterday's thoughts into a brand new day, hoping time would make everything feel smaller. It did not. Instead, every quiet moment seemed to ask the same question. What am I truly feeling? They could no longer answer it with simple words. And perhaps that is why the next moment mattered so much. You may have noticed this in your own life. Sometimes the answers you chase never arrive while you are searching. They appear when you stop trying to force them. That was beginning to happen now. Without planning it, they remembered something you once did. It was not a grand gesture. No dramatic promise. No unforgettable speech. Just one small act of kindness that asked for nothing in return. At the time, it seemed almost invisible. Now it became impossible to ignore. Why would such a small memory suddenly become so powerful? That part of the story is still unfolding. Another layer remains unseen. As the hours passed, they began looking at people differently. Not only at you. At everyone. They realized how easy it is to judge someone by one difficult season. How easy it is to mistake silence for distance. How easy it is to miss the gentle heart behind a quiet face. That realization stayed with them long after the moment ended. And something inside them became softer. Not weaker. Wiser. Perhaps you have been misunderstood before. Maybe people saw only your quiet moments and never your courage. Maybe they noticed your struggles but overlooked your faith. If so, remember this. The deepest parts of a person are rarely seen at first glance. Sometimes they reveal themselves slowly. Like the first light before sunrise. Do not leave this moment behind too quickly. Another unexpected turn is waiting. Later that day, they almost reached out. Their hand paused. Their thoughts raced. Then they stopped. Not because they no longer cared. Because they cared enough to wonder if the timing truly mattered. Would speaking too soon change everything? Or would waiting allow the truth to become clearer? They could not decide. So silence remained. But this silence was no longer empty. It was filled with reflection. Filled with hope. Filled with questions that refused to disappear. You may think silence means nothing is happening. Often, the opposite is true. Some of life's greatest changes happen where no one can see them. Inside the heart. Inside quiet choices. Inside moments that never become public stories. That invisible change was continuing. And another piece was beginning to fall into place. As evening returned, they noticed something surprising. The image they carried of you no longer came from old memories alone. It came from who they believed you truly are. Not perfect. Not without scars. But real. And somehow, reality felt far more beautiful than imagination. That thought stayed with them longer than expected. Still, one question remained unanswered. Could they trust what their heart was showing them? Or was this only a passing feeling? Even they did not know. The answer remained just beyond reach. Before this chapter closes, listen carefully. You have spent so much time wondering whether your true self would ever be enough. Yet somewhere beyond your sight, someone is beginning to understand that authenticity leaves a deeper mark than perfection ever could. They are not rushing. They are not forcing the moment. They are simply allowing truth to settle where doubt once lived. And tomorrow may bring another quiet peace that changes everything they thought they knew. But even that will not be the final answer. Because the deepest truth of this journey is still waiting. The story continues. The next day did not begin with a dramatic sign. There was no unexpected message. No perfect timing. No moment that would make everything suddenly clear. Instead, life moved quietly, almost as if nothing had changed. Yet beneath that calm surface, something inside this person had become impossible to silence. They had reached a place where pretending no longer felt honest. Still, they did not have every answer. Sometimes the heart understands long before the mind is ready to follow. That was where they stood now. Between certainty and questions. Between hope and hesitation. And somewhere in that space, your presence continued to return. Not because they were trying to hold on. But because the truth they had discovered about you would not let go. Have you ever wondered why some people stay in your thoughts without effort? It is rarely because of perfect moments. It is because something genuine touched the heart. Genuine things have a quiet strength. They do not demand attention. They simply remain. That quiet strength was becoming impossible for them to ignore. Yet another unexpected moment arrived. While watching people around them, they noticed how often the world rewards appearances. Quick opinions. Fast judgments. Simple labels. For a long time, they believed those labels too. Then they remembered the real you. Not the version shaped by assumptions. Not the version created by fear. The quiet, kind, imperfect, honest person they had finally begun to see. And one thought stayed with them. Maybe I was looking at the outside while the greatest part was always hidden within. That single thought changed the way they looked at everything else. Perhaps you needed to hear that today. You may spend so much energy trying to explain yourself that you forget something important. The people who are meant to recognize your heart often do so through consistency, not performance. Through kindness repeated over time. Through honesty when no one is watching. Through quiet strength that asks for no reward. Those things leave deeper marks than loud promises ever could. But this story still holds one final layer. As evening settled once again, they stopped searching for a perfect explanation. Instead, they accepted a simple truth. Not every meaningful connection can be measured immediately. Some grow quietly. Some become clear only after patience has done its work. Some reveal themselves little by little, like dawn slowly filling the sky with light. You may be standing in such a season now. A season where nothing seems obvious. A season where you wonder if your true self has ever really been seen. If that is where you are, do not lose heart. Every sincere act. Every gentle word. Every quiet choice. Every moment you remain true to yourself. None of it was wasted. Even when it seemed unnoticed. Even when no one spoke about it. Even when you questioned its value. Its meaning continued to grow in ways you could not yet see. And somewhere, another heart was slowly learning that what they admired most was never perfection. It was authenticity. Not because it was flawless. Because it was real. Before this journey ends, hold on to one thought. You do not need to become someone else to be deeply valued. The truest connections are not built on carefully crafted images. They are built on the courage to let your real heart be seen. That courage leaves a lasting impression. Long after words fade. Long after moments pass. Long after doubt disappears. And as this chapter closes, one question remains gently waiting. What will happen when two hearts, changed by truth, finally meet without fear or pretense? Perhaps that answer does not belong at the end of this story. Perhaps it belongs at the beginning of another. Until then, carry this quiet hope with you. The most meaningful journeys are not defined by one dramatic revelation. They are shaped by countless small moments that slowly change the heart. And maybe,